The gold doors didn't just open. They exploded inward like a bomb went off. 400 of Seoul's most dangerous men turned around at once. The entire ballroom went dead silent. And standing there, framed in the doorway like she owned the damn building, was a woman in a crimson dress that probably cost more than the groom's entire car collection. Zora Vance. Ji-Hoon's ex-wife. The one he threw away 10 years ago like garbage. But here's the thing that made every jaw in that room hit the floor. She wasn't alone. On each side of her stood an 8-year-old child, a boy and a girl. Twins, dressed in custom designer outfits that matched their mother's crimson theme. And when they looked up at the altar, at the groom frozen in shock, everyone in that room saw it. The devil's eyes. The exact same razor-sharp gray eyes as Ji-Hoon Kong. The same eyes that marked every heir in the Kong bloodline for 3 generations. The little girl had them. The little boy had them. Ji-Hoon had invited his ex-wife to humiliate her, to parade his new bride in front of the woman he discarded. But as those 2 children stepped into the light, he realized something that made his blood run cold. He hadn't invited a guest. He'd invited his own execution. Before we reveal how this queen destroys a king in front of all of Seoul, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. If you're Team Zora, smash that like button right now. Trust me, you won't believe what she does next. Zora didn't walk down that aisle. She glided. Every step was deliberate. Every eye was on her. The wedding march was still playing, but nobody was looking at the bride anymore. The twins walked beside her like royalty. The little boy's face was stone-cold serious. The girl had a slight smirk, like she knew exactly what was about to happen. Ji-Hoon stood at the altar, his face drained of all color. His new bride, Choi Monji, looked between him and the children, her perfect smile cracking. Zora stopped 10 feet from the altar. Ji-Hoon, she said, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. I got your invitation. He couldn't speak. His mouth opened but nothing came out. She reached into her clutch and pulled out a cream-colored envelope. Heavy, expensive, official. I brought you a wedding gift. One of her bodyguards stepped forward and placed it directly into Ji-Hoon's trembling hands. Open it, Zora said sweetly. He did. Inside were 2 documents. The first was a DNA test, certified, legal, undeniable. Matching Ji-Hoon Kong to both children standing in front of him. The second document was an invoice. 8 years of child support, private schools, medical care, security, nannies, therapy for the nights they asked why their father didn't want them. The total? $12 million. You can pay me now, Zora said, her voice still calm, still controlled. Or I can have your assets frozen by tomorrow morning. Your choice. The room erupted. Cameras flashed. Guests whispered. The bride's father stood up, his face twisted in rage. And Ji-Hoon? He just stood there, watching his entire world collapse in real time. Choi Meiji wasn't stupid. She was the daughter of one of Seoul's most powerful construction moguls. A woman who'd been groomed since birth to marry into power, to secure alliances, to never show weakness. But she was also a woman who'd been lied to. She turned slowly to Ji-Hoon, her white dress suddenly looking like a costume instead of a symbol of love. You told me you had no children, she said quietly. Her voice was ice. MG, I can explain. Explain? She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Explain how you have 8-year-old twins that you never mentioned? Explain how their mother is standing in our wedding with legal documents while you look like you've seen a ghost. Ji-Hoon reached for her hand. She slapped it away. The entire ballroom was watching now. This wasn't just a wedding anymore. It was a public execution. Choi MG turned to Zora. "How long were you together?" she asked. 3 years, Zora replied calmly. "I was 22 when we met, 25 when he threw me out of his penthouse and told me I was embarrassing to his family." "Because you're black," MJE said. It wasn't a question. "Because I wasn't Korean enough, wasn't connected enough, wasn't useful enough." Zora's voice never wavered. "And when I told him I was pregnant, he offered me money to disappear." The little girl squeezed her mother's hand. The boy's jaw clenched, looking exactly like his father in that moment. MJE stared at Ji-Hoon like she was seeing him for the first time. Then she did something nobody expected. She reached up, pulled the 10-carat diamond ring off her finger, and placed it on the altar. "I'm not marrying a coward," she said, and she walked out. The room exploded. Guests shouted. Ji-Hoon's mother screamed. His father sat frozen, staring at the children who carried his bloodline. But Zora? She just smiled. Here's what nobody knew about Zora's last 10 years. She didn't just survive. She didn't just raise 2 kids alone while working 3 jobs. She became a damn weapon. 6 months after Ji-Hoon kicked her out, broke and pregnant with twins, Zora got a phone call from a number she didn't recognize. "Miss Vance," the voice said. "My name is Kong Dae-jung. I believe you know my nephew." Dae-jung, Ji-Hoon's uncle. The one who'd been exiled from the family 15 years ago for betraying the syndicate. The one everyone thought was dead. "He wronged you," Dae-jung continued, "and I'd like to offer you an opportunity, not charity, an education." For the next 8 years, while she raised her twins in a modest apartment in London, Zora spent every spare moment learning. Financial forensics, corporate law, the internal structure of the Kong syndicate. Every dirty deal, every offshore account, every bribe, every threat, every skeleton in every closet. Dae-jung taught her everything. And when he died last year, he left her something in his will. Not money. Files. Decades of evidence that could dismantle the entire Kong empire in 72 hours. "Why are you telling me this?" Ji-Hoon's voice was shaking now. They were in a private room backstage, away from the chaos. Zora smiled. "Because your grandfather is dying, Ji-Hoon, and he's been looking for an heir with the fire of the Kongs. Someone smart, someone ruthless, someone willing to do what's necessary." She leaned in close. "Your children have that fire. I made sure of it. And tomorrow, I'm taking them to meet him." Ji-Hoon's face went white. "You wouldn't." "Watch me." The student has officially outplayed the master. To make sure you don't miss the next chapter of this calculated takedown, hit that subscribe button now. Drop a comment below. Do you think Zora should take the money or the throne? Kong Sun-hee had been the matriarch of the Kong family for 35 years. She'd survived 3 assassination attempts, buried 2 husbands, and raised a son she secretly knew was weak. But when she walked into that private room and saw the twins for the first time, something inside her broke. The girl looked exactly like her own mother. Same cheekbones, same defiant stare. The boy had her late husband's posture. The way he stood with his hands behind his back, already calculating, already watching. "Grandmother," Zora said softly, "meet Kai and Zara." Sun-hee didn't speak, she just stared. Then she did something no one had ever seen her do. She dropped to her knees. Not in front of Zora, in front of the children. "Forgive me," she whispered in Korean. "I didn't know you existed." Zara, the little girl, looked at her mother. Zora nodded. "We know," Zara said in perfect Korean, "but we're here now." Sun-hee's hands trembled as she reached out to touch their faces. Tears, actual tears, ran down her cheeks. Then she stood, turned to Ji-Hoon, and slapped him so hard the sound echoed. You are a disgrace, she said. You threw away your own blood. You dishonored this family. Mother, silence. Her voice was cold now. Your father will hear about this. And your grandfather? She looked at the twins again. Your grandfather will be very interested to meet his great-grandchildren. Ji-Hoon's face went from white to gray. Because he knew what that meant. In the Kong family, bloodline was everything. And these children, smart, beautiful, legitimate heirs, were about to become more valuable than he'd ever been. Sun-hee turned to Zora. Come to the estate tomorrow, all of you. The patriarch will want to see them. She walked to the door, then paused. And Ji-Hoon? Don't bother coming. You're no longer welcome. By sunrise, the story was everywhere. Not just Korean news, international news. Mafia heir abandons black girlfriend and secret twins. Kong family in chaos after wedding scandal. DNA bombshell destroys Seoul's most eligible bachelor. But here's the thing. Zora didn't leak the story. She leaked something worse. At 6 a.m., every major news outlet in Asia received an anonymous email. Inside were documents, photos, videos. Ji-Hoon at illegal gambling dens. Ji-Hoon bribing government officials. Ji-Hoon with 3 other women during the same period he was engaged to Choi Mi-ji. And the worst one? A recording from 9 years ago. Ji-Hoon's voice, clear as day. Get rid of it, I don't care how. I'm not having a mixed-race bastard ruin my reputation. The internet exploded. His legitimate business partner started pulling out. His club memberships were revoked. His face was on every screen with the word coward underneath. By noon, protesters were outside Kong Syndicate headquarters. By 3 p.m., the board of directors called an emergency meeting. By 6 p.m., Ji-Hoon's corporate credit cards stopped working. Zora watched it all from her hotel suite, the twins playing chess nearby. Mom, Kai said quietly, is it wrong that I don't feel bad for him? Zora looked at her son, 8 years old and already wise beyond his years. No, baby, it's not wrong. He made his choices. Now he's living with them. Zara looked up from the chessboard. Are we really going to meet our great-grandfather tomorrow? Yes. What if he doesn't like us? Zora smiled. Trust me, sweetheart, he's going to love you. Because Zora knew something Ji-Hoon didn't. The patriarch had been waiting for children like this his entire life. The Kong estate wasn't a house, it was a fortress. 20 acres of manicured gardens, a main house that looked like a palace, and enough security to protect a small country. When Zora's Rolls-Royce pulled up, 12 guards stood at attention. Inside, the patriarch was waiting. Kong Il-sung, 92 years old. Built the syndicate from nothing, survived wars, coups, and betrayals that would have destroyed weaker men. He sat in a massive leather chair like a king on a throne. Sun-hee stood beside him, her face carefully neutral. Zora walked in first, then the twins. The patriarch stared at them for a long moment. Then he laughed, a deep, genuine laugh that filled the entire room. Finally, he said in Korean. Finally, some real Kongs. He gestured for the children to come closer. Kai and Zara walked forward without fear. They'd been coached. They knew exactly what to do. They bowed, perfectly synchronized. Great-grandfather, they said together in flawless Korean. Il-sung's eyes actually misted over. You taught them our language, he said to Zora. I taught them everything, she replied. Their history, their bloodline, what it means to be a Kong. And what does it mean? He asked, looking at Kai. Kai stood straighter. It means we protect our family, we honor our word, and we never show weakness. Il-sung looked at Zara. And what would you do if someone tried to hurt your brother? Zara's gray eyes, those devil's eyes, went cold. I'd destroy them, she said simply. The patriarch smiled. You'll do, he said. Then he looked at Sun-hee. Bring me the documents. What happened next would change everything. Il-sung officially recognized Kai and Zara as legitimate heirs. Full rights, full inheritance. And then he did something that made Sun-hee gasp. He named Zora as their legal trustee until they turned 25. Which meant she controlled their shares. Which meant she controlled 40% of the Kong syndicate. More than Ji-Hoon, more than anyone except Il-sung himself. Congratulations, Miss Vance, the patriarch said. Welcome to the family. Ji-Hoon wasn't going down without a fight. 2 nights after the estate meeting, Zora's Rolls-Royce was driving back to her hotel when 3 black vans cut them off. 12 men, armed, faces covered. They thought they were ambushing a civilian. They were wrong. The Rolls-Royce wasn't just a car. It was a tank wrapped in luxury. Bulletproof glass, reinforced frame, run-flat tires. And Zora's driver? Former SAS. The children were strapped into special safety seats that could withstand a rocket launcher. Mom? Zara's voice was calm. Too calm for an 8-year-old in a firefight. Stay down, baby, we're fine. The attackers opened fire. Bullets pinged off the windows like raindrops. Zora pressed a button on her phone. Within 90 seconds, 4 SUVs appeared from nowhere. Her own security team. Trained by Daejung's people. The fight lasted 3 minutes. When it was over, all 12 attackers were on the ground, zip-tied and waiting for police. Zora stepped out of the car, not a hair out of place. She walked to the lead attacker and crouched down. Tell Ji-Hoon something for me, she said quietly. Tell him that if he ever comes near my children again, I won't call the police. I'll call his grandfather. She stood up, got back in the car, and drove away. The next morning, Ji-Hoon received a package. Inside was a flash drive, footage of the attack. Every angle, every face. And a note. The patriarch has seen this. You have 24 hours to leave Seoul. Ji-Hoon just made his final mistake. If you're rooting for Zora to finish him, show your support by hitting subscribe and smashing that like button. We're moving into the final showdown. The Kong Family Council met for the first time in 5 years. 15 members. The most powerful crime lords, business moguls, and political players in Korea. At the head of the table sat the patriarch. To his right, Sun-hee. To his left, Zora Vance, with Kai and Zara standing behind her like tiny bodyguards. At the far end, alone and sweating, sat Ji-Hoon. This council recognizes the claim of Kong Kai and Kong Zara as legitimate heirs, the patriarch said. All in favor? Every hand went up, except Ji-Hoon's. Good, Il-sung continued. Now we address the matter of Ji-Hoon Kong. The room went silent. You abandoned your children. You lied to this family. You attempted to assassinate the mother of your heirs. The patriarch's voice was like gravel. You are weak. You are dishonorable. You are everything a Kong should never be. Grandfather, please, silence. Il-sung stood, his 92-year-old frame somehow still commanding the room. Ji-Hoon Kong, you are hereby stripped of your title, your shares, and your name. You are exiled from this family. You have 1 week to leave Korea. If you return, you will be treated as an enemy. Ji-Hoon's face crumbled. You can't do this. I'm your grandson. I'm your blood. My blood, Il-sung said, pointing at Kai and Zara, is standing right there. And they have more honor in their 8 years than you've shown in your entire life. 2 guards stepped forward. Remove him. As they dragged Ji-Hoon out, he looked at Zora one last time. She didn't smile, didn't gloat. She just watched him disappear. Miss Vance, the patriarch said, please, take your seat. Zora sat down at the council table, in Ji-Hoon's chair. 6 months later, Zora stood in the Kong Syndicate boardroom, looking out over the Seoul skyline. She was wearing a black power suit, hair pulled back, no nonsense. Behind her, the twins sat doing homework, completely comfortable in a room that terrified grown men. The door opened. Soon he walked in. The Hong Kong deal is finalized, she said. The Singapore expansion is ahead of schedule, and the patriarch wants you to join him for dinner tonight. Zora nodded. Soon he paused at the door. I underestimated you, she said quietly. I thought you wanted revenge. I did, Zora replied. I came to own the room. She posted it. Within an hour, it had 10 million views. The woman they tried to erase had become impossible to ignore. And somewhere, in a small apartment in another country, Ji-Hoon watched that video and realized he'd made the biggest mistake of his life. He didn't just lose a woman, he lost a dynasty. The king has fallen. Thank you for following Zora's journey from heartbreak to empire. If you loved this story, make sure you've hit subscribe to join our community. Drop a comment telling us what you want to see next. And check out the next video on your screen for more stories of power, revenge, and triumph. See you in the next one.